Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tia Nicole. If you're new here, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your bell notifications for more videos like this one or future content that I plan to push out. This is the conclusion to the two-part series of my pregnancy story into my labor and delivery. This video today will be my labor and delivery experience and everything that happened from the time that I woke up on Wednesday, August 22nd to the time that I left the hospital, August 25th. I think that was a Saturday. So I only stayed in the hospital for a couple of days. But yeah, my experience in triage and then my experience to getting an epidural up until the time that we had the baby and we were able to go home. So if you are interested in hearing about that, please stay tuned. In my last video, I stopped off where I started having contractions and I'm literally about to lose my mind because it was so painful that I ended up going to the hospital. Now, so we get to the hospital and they hook me up, they're checking my cervix and they're like, oh, you're already 2 centimeters. This is great, blah, blah, blah. Go into the bathroom, put on these Victoria's Secrets, which is not even the best pair of underwear, but they were very comfortable for the time that I had them up until like, I want to say a month after I had them because they gave me plenty. They gave me these underwear, a gown, they hooked me up to the machine to keep log of my contractions, how strong they were, how often they happened. That happened from, I want to say, from 7:45 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. They kept a track of my contractions. During that time, I didn't use the bathroom that much because I didn't have to, but I was on the exercise ball doing my hip swivels, bouncing up and down. If a contraction came, I would walk because it just felt better. You can't get an epidural until you get a room, so I didn't have an epidural. I took a shower for an hour. It wasn't even a shower like, you know, lather and rinse. It was literally me sitting in a chair like I am, and my head was back like this, and the water was just beating on my chest, and it was the best hour that I had. I came out and I felt so refreshed and brand new, but then my contractions got even stronger because, you know, it progresses as time goes on. So I got out, dried off, went back to where we were, and my contractions picked up. At this point, I'm like 3.5, almost 4 centimeters around 4 o'clock, and they're like, okay, we finally got you a room. We're gonna take you up. We're gonna start your IV before we take you up, and then we're gonna give you an epidural if that's what you want to do. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay. Okay, that sounds good. So the lady that did my IV, like I said, had a pinched nerve, something. She did something wrong, and she switched to this arm, got it in this arm. Good to go. So they get me up to my room, get everything situated. They're like, oh, you're gonna sit on this table, you're going to bend over, you're gonna breathe, but you're not going to move. You have to stay as still as possible because, like, getting an epidural, they're putting something in your spine to numb you from the waist down so you don't feel, you know, tearing the baby coming out. Like, literally everything is numb. So they're like, if you move, you can end up being paralyzed. So if a contraction comes, don't do anything. Do this quick as we can. The lady that's doing the epidural, she goes, oh, I can't seem to get it in right. Do you have like scoliosis or something? I'm like, actually, yes, I do. Like, I've had it probably since I was a little before 12, but I did have a back brace for it. Is there something wrong? She was like, oh, well, she wasn't saying this. So she asked if I had scoliosis, and I said yes. That was that. She finished the epidural, and then after that, she was like, well, next time you might want to make sure that you let someone know that you have scoliosis because it was hard to get it in there. I turned and I looked at her and I said, well, how was I supposed to know that that was something that I was supposed to let you know? Like, I've never had a child before. Like, this is something you probably should have made a checklist, like, oh, make sure you ask the patient if they have any kind of, you know, crooked spine, because this is something that could affect the epidural or you know, something. There was no way in the world that I could have known to mention that, because I just, like I said, never had a child before. This is my first experience. Everything that's happening to me from November 15th of 2017 all the way up until August 22nd of 2018 was brand new to me. So there's no way in the world that I would have known that. And I want to say, like, a couple of days later, they asked on a phone for a survey of how everything was, and I mentioned that experience because I was actually quite upset. Like, don't talk to me like that. Don't say, oh, well, make sure, you need to make sure. Like, no, this is what you do as a professional. Okay, I'm gonna start your epidural. Is there anything that I need to know about as according to your spine? Like, do you have scoliosis? Like, is there anything that I need to know before I start this procedure? You know, something like that. And I said that on the audio thing, and I rated her as a 0 because that was horrible. Like, you just don't say that to somebody. So anyway, they do my epidural, and I told that nurse or whoever she thought she was about herself. Everything pretty much seemed to be smooth sailing. Gave me the epidural, like I said, and then I was sitting back, relaxing. Me and my husband was waiting for my mother and my sister and my mother-in-law to get there so that the process can get started, and, you know, we'll go from there. So I was laying there, and this happened like, I want to say around 4 o'clock, because by 5 o'clock my mom and my sister ended up coming, and then my husband's mom came, I want to say around like 6:30, but everyone was there not too long after I had got placed in my room. So we were waiting for my husband's mom to come, and in this hospital they said that there could only be 3 people along with me, like the doctor and the 2 nurses. So we clearly had more than 3 people because my sister had came. I invited her sister to come because she was going for her doula certification, and she needed to see, I think she said like 6 live births or something like that to be fully certified. So I had invited her to come, but by the time that it was time to have the baby, they said that, oh, she can't be here because we only allow 3 people at a time because the room was only so big. So she did come. She did come, and she was there, like, literally after I pushed him out, she was in the room, and she was there to celebrate with us and see, like, everything that happened after I had him. So I want to say around 5:30, while we was waiting for my husband's mom to come, my mother is literally calling everybody and their mother to try to FaceTime with me, and I am in the worst mood ever. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to talk to nobody. And she insisted on putting the phone in my face. And I literally felt bad after it happened, but I'm like, Ma, enough is enough. I want to rest. I haven't slept at all, literally for the past 2.5 days. I want to see if I can rest now that my contractions are, you know, under control, and I pretty much don't feel any pain when it happens, so I want to rest. Knowing us, I didn't sleep. We kept laughing and cracking jokes. The nurses were super nice. And, you know, like, the whole delivery experience was very fun. Like, I had an amazing time. Like, everybody was so sweet. Even the people in triage was very nice too. Like, I really enjoyed my entire experience, you know, in that hospital. And I was recommended by one of my close friends to go there because she had 3 of her children there too. So after we sat around, we laughed and talked, eventually they were like, oh, we're gonna see how your contractions are going. We're gonna check you out to see if you made any progress from the time that we checked you last. They checked me and I was still at 4 centimeters because before I came up from triage, I was at 4 centimeters, or like 3.5, almost 4. So the nurse down there, she did a membrane sweep, and that got me to 4 centimeters. So when I got up there, they were like, oh, there's been a couple of hours that passed by and you're still 4 centimeters. So we want to give you some Pitocin to help jumpstart the contractions to do its thing. But we're going to wait a little while to monitor the baby's heart, monitor your heart, your oxygen, everything. So I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. So they had this little strap around my stomach that was detecting his heartbeat. At one point, it couldn't register at all his heartbeat. So I started getting a little nervous, but I got a praying mother, and I know for a fact that she was praying the entire time we were there. So I had a sense of peace in my mind, but I was still concerned because obviously I done went this entire 9 months with a baby worrying, and then now I'm in the delivery room and I'm worrying again. So now they're like, oh, we have to put this internal clamp on his head, like in the middle of his head, to detect a pulse, to make sure like everything is perfectly fine. At first I was against it because I'm like, it's gonna go in his skull, like don't you think that's gonna hurt him? And then like, honestly, there's something that they don't remember, it's gonna heal within a couple of hours. So I'm like, okay, let's just do it, because I want to make sure that my baby at the end of the day is perfectly fine and healthy, and he comes here with no complications, no problems. Like, you know, do what you have to do. So they did it, and they ended up breaking. Before that, they broke my water, and my water didn't break on its own. But after they did that, they waited a little while, and then they realized, okay, maybe it's now time to give you the Pitocin. This was around 11:30. 4 o'clock up until 11:30, I was at 4 centimeters. 11:30 to 12 o'clock, they gave me a Pitocin, and I went from 4 centimeters to 10 centimeters within 20 minutes. 11:50, I went from 4 to 10, and then from 11:50 to 12, they were like, okay, we're gonna have to get everything together, we're gonna start pushing. I'm like, that literally only took 20 minutes. Now, when I tell you from 11:30 to 11:50, I was laying there and then I was tossing. But I couldn't get comfortable because the way that they taped my back to keep the cord for the epidural in place, it was pinching my skin. Like, I don't know, it was just very uncomfortable, so I couldn't get comfortable. They said I kept sliding off the bed. My butt would not stay up. Like, I couldn't obviously feel anything from my waist down, so I didn't realize I was at the end of the bed unless I looked at my feet hanging off. So they're like, this bed is big enough to like fit somebody bigger than you, and you're literally at the edge. So they're like, oh, we're gonna scoot you up. They scoot me up, and then, oh really? So they scoot me up, and then, like I said, 11:30 to 11:50, my contractions start, and it's like to the point where they gave me a button, and every time I needed more epidural, I'll press it and they'll subside the pain. At this point, there was nothing subsiding the pain, and it just jump started everything. So he's so cute. So my mom and my sister went to the cafeteria, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go and sit down and eat for a little while and talk, blah, 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 because it's obviously gonna take a little while. No, this baby was ready to come. My mom and my sister rushed back down. Like I said, my sister couldn't come in the room, but me, my husband, his mom, and my mother were in the room. They got everything situated. I pushed for half an hour, and little Caleb was here. And it was so cool. I cried my eyes out. Like, while I'm pushing, I'm sweating. So my mother-in-law's fanning me with a brochure that she found somewhere in the room. My husband's on this side of me holding up my leg and, you know, helping me push. My mom's on this side holding up my leg, helping me push. And like I said, it was a half an hour. And he was here. They cleaned me up, got him clean, took his measurements, everything, and he came out 7 pounds, 10 ounces, 21 inches. And at 12:29 a.m. August 23rd, they were like, it's very rare that somebody comes in on their due date. It's very rare that somebody has their child on their due date, but I didn't have him on my due date, but I was day after, so it was very close. Like, they was like, this is very rare. It's very rare that this is your first child. It's very rare that this is your first child and you only push for a half an hour. Literally, people push for longer than that, and they're in labor for longer than you were. I was like, I was determined to get this baby out. I was determined to have my child in my arms before the end of the week. Like, y'all don't understand how determined I was, and I was gonna make it happen, and it did. And I felt very accomplished afterwards. So they had got me cleaned up, got him cleaned up, and then they had me get up from the bed after the epidural wore off a little bit. When I say my leg gave out, I almost fell. The nurse caught me. I caught myself on the bed. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. She was like, nope, you got to make sure you lock your knees. Just lock your knees. When I tell you, the people were so nice. Like, I had them all in there laughing. Like, I'm not one to be down in the dumps. Like, I'll make the best out of every situation that I can, if I can. And yeah, like, by the end of that, all of those nurses in there were my best friends. There was this one nurse, his name, I think it was Josh. Either way, he was the only male nurse up there. And he even came in after Caleb was born, and he sat with us for like a good 20 minutes just talking and laughing. Like, everything went smooth, and I actually appreciate my experience and how everybody made it so memorable. So they had me get up, use the bathroom, told me how to clean myself after having him. Okay, so once they get me to a room after cleaning me up, having me go to the bathroom, wheeling me up, whatever, this was around probably like 2 in the morning, because it just took forever, obviously, because, you know, yeah, everything is open for the whole wide world to see. You just pushed out a whole human being, all that good stuff. So around 2 in the morning, we finally get up to our room. We literally do not go to sleep because it's just so much adrenaline running through you. We sat up for a long time, and then we finally forced ourselves to go to sleep the next morning around, I want to say 6 in the morning. Even with that, it was hard because, you know, you just had a baby. You want to make sure the baby's in tip-top shape, like nothing's wrong. So you literally sleeping like this. Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay. Like, you know, going through the motions. You just had a baby, so you're like, did I really just do that? Is this for real? Like, real life? And it's real life. He was so tiny and so light-skinned. Like, I thought he was gonna be a light bright because all my mother's other grandchildren are light-skinned. He's the only dark one, and I'm the only dark child out of all my mom's children, so I guess it was evident. But I thought for sure he was gonna be light-skinned, but you know, I won because I wanted a chocolate baby anyway. A chunky chocolate baby. He's not as chunky, but he does have a good weight. He's very dense, and he is chocolate, and I love chocolate. So where was I? We stayed in the hospital for like 2 days. During one of those days, I think it was Friday, yeah, because we had him early Thursday morning. So Friday, they took him to the nursery. I was paranoid about that because I've heard so many stories about babies being taken from the hospital. Even though he had an alarm on his ankle, you know, you just can never be too sure that you're actually handing off your baby to a nurse. But all the people were super nice there. Very trustworthy. So I knew that we were in good hands either way. Ended up having jaundice, which is like the yellowing of the eyes, yellowing of the skin. They had him under a blue light for a couple hours to make sure that he didn't have to stay in the hospital longer than he was supposed to without me. And I felt like if that was a thing, I wouldn't have left him there by himself. I would have found a way to stay until he was able to go home with me. We kept him for a couple hours in the nursery while we ate and, you know, caught up on some sleep because we literally didn't sleep at all for a couple of days before. So they took him and we let him. And then when we wanted him, we got him back. But while he was under the blue light, they had to keep him under there for a while. So they kept testing him on Friday night. And then Friday morning, they were like, oh, we're going to test again because we want to make sure that his levels are good for him to go. When they tested him again, he was older than what he was when he first had it. So they were like, okay, everything will be fine for him to go home today. It was a long time that we waited. To be discharged because they had to do all this paperwork. They had to make sure all of his stuff was together. They circumcised him that same, I think I want to say the day we left, they circumcised him. So I think that is the end of this video for right now. The next one will be from day 4. Day 4. Remember day 4. Keep day 4 in your mind because day 4 is an intense story. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.